the word illustrate means to make clear. Take the words and create, beautiful pictures. So you really want to just try to take the reader into that story from a visual standpoint.
Children's book illustrator A.G. Ford works alone in the front room of his North Texas home. The Naaman Forest High School graduate doesn't have to commute to work or deal with company politics. Ford needs only the tools of his trade: paper, a pencil or paintbrush, and his very vivid imagination. He's illustrated more than a dozen children's books with expressions, movement, details, all coming from his hand and heart.
My main goal is simply to make the text more clear and pull some sort of emotion out of the story. Versatility is probably my biggest strength. When I'm doing a historical book, I use a lot of oils and acrylics so I can get that real kind of 3D polished look, showing a lot of depth. And if I'm doing something a little bit more playful or cartoony, then I can get looser. I don't really have a certain strength in particular on like each book, but it's just that I can do so many different styles.
That versatility led the award-winning illustrator to Barack, a children's book about the 44th president, which just so happened to land on the New York Times bestseller list. Barack was released shortly before President Obama took office. Since then, there has been a steady stream of projects coming Ford's way. Historical projects like My Daddy Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm Little, and Desmond and the Very Mean Word. There are also projects like Rock and Rose 12 Days of Christmas with Nick Cannon and What Color Is My World with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which also made the New York Times bestseller list.
Over here is a dinosaur cookie book I'm doing for Disney Hyperion. It's called Cookiesaurus Rex.
Ford's office is filled with his pictures that help bring books to life.
This tree is actually my face.
He draws all of them the old-fashioned way, freehand. Each book takes about 5 months to illustrate, and although he loves it, make no mistake, it is work.
I do have a different perspective of when I'm drawing and when I'm painting to understand what the viewer is taking from it. Because sometimes, as an illustrator and as a painter, I just want to make a beautiful image, regardless. But from a storytelling perspective, it is important that the viewer is getting that experience, especially if it's a historical book. I really need to take them into that time, so a lot of research goes into it. Drawing a bike is like the hardest thing in the world, so I went and bought this little toy bike, and I would pose on a chair like I was riding a bike to get different perspectives, and I would use this little toy bike and I would set up lights on it, and I would kind of tilt it and turn it just to get the lighting and perspective right, and to know what it looks like from perspective of this wheel's in front of the other. So I basically have to find as many pictures as I can, because if I have to draw this character at tons of different angles, and usually I use my body. So if I want to get a figure to wave and there's not a picture of a person waving, I have to actually find a photo, that person's head facing a certain way, and then I take a picture of myself and I'll wave, and I'll take a picture and try to merge those two pictures together and then draw it. So I need tons of pictures.
A little piece of the illustrator is left behind ever so slightly in the books, and those books can be found in classrooms and libraries all over the world. Now Ford himself is following, reflecting on his childhood.
Earliest thing I can remember about drawing is being at my grandmother's house, and me and my brother, we would draw Ninja Turtles all day, every day.
He's also looking back to his first paid job as an artist.
I guarantee that there's, hundreds of, working there 3 years, there's hundreds of people with really bad A.G. Ford caricatures hanging up in their house right now. So I apologize. You can buy a book, they're much better.
He uses all those moments to teach children the fundamentals of finding yourself.
I just can't decide what I want to be when I grow up, because there's gymnastics and cheerleading and drawing and painting. I just can't decide.
All right, y'all. So, now you're probably wondering, who is here today? Well, I'm an illustrator. I'm a children's book illustrator, and that's what I do for a living. I get to draw and paint every day for a living. What does an illustrator do?
Drawing pictures.
Draws pictures for books.
Children's book illustrator A.G. Ford has started taking his talent on the road. He talks to young people about life decisions, determination, and drive.
But I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how I became an illustrator. I didn't wake up one day and was able to draw really good. I had to practice and practice and practice and work and work and work at it, all right? The first time you do something, are you good at it? No. But what about the 10th time? What about the 1,000th time? But what I really want you to understand is what about the 10,000th time you've done something, okay? That's when we reach excellence.
He learned that lesson when he was just 16 years old, drawing caricatures at Six Flags over Texas.
You know, it's 99 degrees outside, you're sweating, and you're drawing this person that, you know, is with their girlfriend or significant other, and the girlfriend or significant other might not want to be drawn today. So they're sitting there like this, and you gotta draw them. The other person is really happy. And then, you know, with all these kids around you and people running around, and because they're at Six Flags. And so it's kind of like a boot camp.
It's that intensity Ford's art teacher saw all those years ago.
He always told me if I start to slack off, if I'm not performing at the level that you think I ought to be, call me on it. Don't let me do less than what I'm capable of doing.
Even though Ford is now planting a seed in these young minds, there are still lots of choices out there for these kids.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know yet, but I think I want to be a doctor or a lawyer.
I'm thinking about being a dentist. I want to be a professional basketball player.
His drawings were really good, and I feel like that I want to be a drawer like him when I grow up.
An actor.
When I speak to kids, I think the main thing that I try to get across to them is trying to get them to see themselves within positions that they see, you know, adults in, or whatever it be, a job, a career. I don't try to get everyone to be an artist, but I try to get everyone to understand that if you maximize your potential, then you can become whatever you want. So it's a big thing, especially when talking to kids, when they say, oh wow, that's awesome, oh I could never do that.
I liked how he draws people and how realistic, and at the same time how like it's just really pretty. I really like it.
I think they're amazing. They're very detailed. He's really nice, and he's like a really good drawer.
And when I think about when I draw, when I'm happy, I use the color yellow, and when I'm sad, I use the color blue.
What sort of role would you like to play if you were an actor?
A good guy.
A good guy?
I don't like being a bad guy.
No. You could fight the aliens if you were a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Would you win?
Possibly.
I think you would.
It's all the same shapes to create everything in the world. Triangle, this is just two circles. Once I got out and started speaking to kids, I did kind of understand, oh, there is an impact being made. These stories are getting into their souls, and they're kind of questioning what's going on in the world. So, yeah, so it's a little bit more of a responsibility, and I can take it much more seriously thinking of it from that perspective.
It's those life experiences that have led Ford to his next book, one that has quickly become his favorite, thanks to becoming a new father.
It's called Littles, and it's a baby book, and it's just about that first year and a half of a baby. So all the things they do, you know, giving them baths, they're starting to walk, eating messy, all those things. And then to the, you know, more of their curious stage, and of course this is kind of based on how Maddox looks.
Oh, that's really great.
And until they get a little older.
It's amazing to me how you do. There's so much emotion in the littles' faces, and you are really getting that across to the viewer.
So fun stuff. I really enjoyed it, and all the way up till, you know, first
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yeah. So these were, you know, fun samples to do. And they were well received by the editors, so they worked out. It's the first time where I'm doing a book where I can go in the next room and something happened, I say, I'm gonna put that in the book, you know, so I see him crawling or I see him roll over. So I had research here right at my house if I don't do enough research already, so it's a pretty cool experience.
Experiences he will continue to share in the classroom and on the page.
Anytime you're doing art, whatever's most honest, I think it works really well. I'm very passionate about repetition and really maximizing your potential as a human being. Repetition is everything. If someone does something better than you, it's only because they've done it more. That's it. So if we have that mindset, then we know we can achieve anything.
how would you like it if your kid was born and was basically consigned to a fate just because of where they were born, that they would never go to college? You wouldn't like that very much. I can't really explain why it is that Southern Dallas struck such a chord with me, because there's plenty of places in this, in the greater Dallas Metroplex that could use revitalization. But it has struck a chord with me, and there's so much wasted potential here.
Here is Southern Dallas, overlooked for growth until recently, bypassed by developers, victimized by change, and not the kind that makes communities vibrant. Shunned by shoppers. Meet Peter Brodsky, who made his mark and his money in the business of corporate acquisitions. Now, trying to change the quality of life in Southern Dallas, and part of that change, his personal acquisition of Southwest Center Mall.
When it was opened in the 70s, it immediately became a real point of pride in this community. And it was incredibly popular. I can't tell you how many people have told me, oh, that's where I spent my childhood. And they always accompany it by saying, back in the day.
Back in the day, Southwest Center Mall was named Redbird, after the area in Oak Cliff where the 90-acre mall sits. It was profitable, it was popular, it was multiracial. It was everybody's mall. But it has suffered 20 years of neglect and decline. Why do you want to bring it back? I mean, you've put 10+ million of your own money into buying this mall. That's a great risk, potentially.
It's also a great opportunity.
Back in the day, Redbird Mall was the crown on the Southwest Dallas economy, but the crown has slipped. Brodsky says unfairly because of the negative paint often broad-brushed across all of Southern Dallas.
What I found out was that there are huge misperceptions about this community, about this part of the city. And it is viewed by a lot of people as universally poor and universally dangerous. And there's just all these stereotypes that get attached to it that I knew from my own experience were not true.
But Peter Brodsky never experienced Southern Dallas until he was introduced through the Leadership Dallas program.
Which I think is a fantastic program, just an awesome way to learn about the city. And I learned a lot about the city that I didn't know. And one of the things I learned was that there was a whole southern half of the city that I had never spent any time in.
Spending time in Southern Dallas, he saw what others didn't. And buying the mall, his first real estate venture, a world away from corporate acquisitions. And so you made this leap from that into this retail piece with the idea of turning it around and certainly scoring on your investment. But that had to come with some suspicion from folk in this community.
It did. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say about the investment thesis is that I do care about this community. I've spent a lot of time here. And if I thought that the only way to make money in the investment was to do something that was negative for the community, I just wouldn't have done it.
What he has done is purchased about 70% of the mall, everything but the space owned by Macy's, Sears, and Burlington Coat Factory. The original idea was to redevelop the mall as an updated version of what it is now. But Brodsky now believes that won't bring people or retailers back.
People want dense, they want urban, they want parks, they want to be able to walk. And so you have to provide an environment in which particularly, the millennial generation, it's got to have a cool factor where they want to be. So you can ultimately populate the area with the quality retail, dining, and entertainment that people want. It's just not necessarily going to be in this type of building. And I should say, that is the ultimate vision.
The mall's retrogression didn't happen overnight, and neither will its renaissance. About that, Brodsky has no misconception.
I would never have done a real estate deal in North Dallas. There's a million people that are doing that, and I'm not gonna do it any better than anyone else. I do care and I do believe, and that belief is what allows me to be the right one to do this development. And I think there's huge potential. I really do. I mean, I think this will end up being the best deal I ever did.
Brodsky's vision is not just to change the present, but also to change the future.
When people don't have the opportunity to be all that they could be, to pursue the dreams that they have for themselves, for their kids, when they don't have the opportunity to walk down the street safely, when they don't have the opportunity to get a great education, it's a waste of human potential, and it's also terrible for our city.
Peter Brodsky's efforts beyond the mall to improve quality of life in parts of southern Dallas when In the Moment returns. Peter Brodsky bought into southern Dallas and bought Southwest Center Mall with his own millions after learning about life south of the Trinity through the Leadership Dallas program.
And I decided in that program that I really wanted to focus a lot of effort on giving back to the community in the realm of education. Health outcomes are correlated to education. Arts appreciation are correlated to education. Incarceration is correlated to education. Income is, of course, correlated to education. Every single topic we were talking about and every single societal issue we were talking about seemed to be improved with education.
The doors to success for Brodsky opened with the key of education, a key he wants every child to have.
People will often say to me, well, not everybody needs to go to college. And my answer to that is, well, you may be right, but how would you like it if your kid was born and was basically consigned to a fate just because of where they were born, that they would never go to college? You wouldn't like that very much. So sure, not everyone needs to go to college. There's plenty of great jobs you can get if you don't go to college, and it's not for everybody, but that should be the choice of the individual and the family. It shouldn't be because the kid never really learned to read properly and by third grade got tired of feeling behind and ultimately dropped out. And that's what we're trying to fight against.
That fight led him to KIPP Academy Charter School that was housed in the Lancaster Keast Shopping Center.
And I was just amazed by what went on. It was a very unimpressive building in the back of an old, dilapidated shopping center. But once you walked through that door, you saw that what they were doing at that school was really bringing out the best in kids. They were taking kids who were not taking a test to get in, they just signed up. So it was a random selection of kids, but they provided an environment, a culture of high expectations, much longer school day, longer school year, and a variety of other, and really just a commitment to the idea that all kids can learn and all kids deserve the opportunity to get a first-rate education. It's just that's in the DNA of the organization, and their results were terrific.
Brodsky signed on, is now board chairman, and KIPP in Dallas has 5 schools on 3 campuses, including this brand new facility that opened debt-free on South Ewing and Oak Cliff.
It was exciting to find this spot because in addition to providing a first-rate school there'll be, when this building is fully enrolled, there'll be over 1,000 kids attending in this building. But it is in the middle of an area that really has not had any new construction in a long time. We hope this can be a catalyst for the regeneration and the rejuvenation of the entire area. All of a sudden you got a first-rate school within walking distance. Well, maybe that will cause more people to want to move into the area and do something for home values. You've got 1,000 kids and families coming here every day. Maybe that will do something for the retail around the area and just start that virtuous cycle of revitalizing a community.
His work doesn't stop there.
But ultimately, we won't consider it successful unless we get all the way to where all people and animals are safe.
Brodsky also chairs the newly created Animal Commission Advisory Board, asked to serve in that post by Mayor Mike Rawlings.
I said yes because I know from spending time in southern Dallas that stray and loose dogs are a problem that plagues this community, plagues the people in the community. And if you're ever going to really have southern Dallas fulfill its potential, you've got to solve that problem. If you can't let your child play in the front yard, if you can't go take advantage of a park, if you can't walk down the street, then because you're afraid of a dog or a pack of dogs, then you not only does that cause economic problems, not going to school, not going to work, but it just fundamentally impedes people's quality of life.
Trying to improve, not impede, the quality of life across southern Dallas is Peter Brodsky's mission. In the Moment.
For past moments and more, subscribe to our YouTube page. We are Fox 4 News.